Hare Krishna. It's nice to be back here. How are you? So, we are continuing in chapter 2. So I thought we would do a little recap. So, this chapter begins with a very important situation. Anybody remember what was Arjuna's state of mind in the beginning of this chapter and at the end of the last chapter?
Confused.
He was confused. What was he confused about?
Why to kill them?
He was confused about why to kill his family members, his elders. What else? What were some of the other condition of Arjuna? He was happy?
No, was not.
He was not happy? Any other conditions of Arjuna's state of mind that you recall?
He was confused.
Yeah?
At the same time, he was not convinced, because they are all relatives.
He doesn't want to get the kingdom at the cost of the lives of his elders and brothers.
So he doesn't want the kingdom at the cost of his elders, his brothers. Right? So what's the value in that kingdom? Yeah. When we say he was in some distress, some anxiety, some fear, so much so that in the middle of the battlefield, he actually lets go of his Gandiva bow, which is a very important phenomenon because Arjuna basically never released his bow. And he was in such a frightened state, pretty much overwhelmed with what to do, his confusion of duty. Right? So what did Arjuna do to begin to resolve his situation? What was his first step in resolving this circumstance? I ask lots of questions, by the way. That's my step.
It's like he starts asking for clarification from Krishna.
So he starts asking for clarification from Krishna. So this is the first of many, but one of the most important instructions that Arjuna will give us. So we say, wait a minute, Krishna is giving all the instructions in Bhagavad Gita, right? But actually, Arjuna is showing us the path that we can follow, because we also have some similar conditions to Arjuna. We sometimes become confused about what I'm supposed to do. What is my real purpose? What is my real duty? Sometimes we are in a fearful condition. Sometimes we become distressed, bewildered, sometimes angry. These emotions come upon us. And when they do, we want to find some relief from them, no? We want to become clear from them. So Arjuna shows us how to become clear from them. And how are we going to become free from them? Winning the lottery? Moving to Hawaii and staying on the beach? Getting 1 million followers on Twitter or whatever this new platforms are? Is that what's going to give us this perfection? So Arjuna shows us that Krishna can guide us into this process. But Arjuna makes a very powerful statement in the 8th verse. In the 7th verse. He tells Krishna that normally when we go to God, and we say, God, give me this, give me that, and for my family, give me that, this. We put in our order, right? Like when we go to the restaurant and put our order in, right? We give a long list of all the things that we want. And maybe we put a few dollars in the hundi, we offer some arti, we do some puja. we give our request to the Lord. Isn't that what we normally do? So Arjuna doesn't do that, if you see. What does he do? He asks Krishna, Krishna, you tell me what is best for me. It's a very subtle but important shift in consciousness. Just like in a home, who knows what's best for the child? Child or mother and father? Right? Mother and father know best. So if the child wants ultimate success, they know following what mother and father say will yield the best. But sometimes child thinks, I know best. So we are often also in that childlike state where we think we know what is best for us. But actually, who knows truly what's best for us? Our supreme loving Father, Lord Krishna. He has the perfect plan for each of us. And He knows what's best for us. So Arjuna had confidence in that. So he didn't say, Krishna, please fulfill my desire to stop this war. Did he say that? We can guess that's what he wanted, right? He didn't say, Krishna, please fulfill my desire and you fight this war and leave me out of it. He could have said that, but he didn't. He instead said, Krishna, please instruct me what is best for me. So this is the mood of surrender. Faith that, listen, through my own decisions, I have led to this situation. Right? My own instincts, my own guidance, my own ideas of success have left me in this condition. So let me now go to someone who has a better idea than me. So this takes some faith. It takes some surrender of our ego, some humility. But when we approach in that circumstance, then actually we get Krishna's complete mercy and blessings. Because Krishna will tell us later in the 7th chapter, if you come to him and ask him for something, that he also considers that very pious. But it's not the best because now he's restricted. He can either give or not. But if he has some better plan, we don't know. We lose out on that. Right? So Arjuna shows us that the best mood of surrender is to go to Krishna and ask him, hey, what is best for me? Guide me. Just as we have faith that in the home, a child has some idea of what's best, but mother and father have the best idea. Right? So that is what Arjuna did to open this chapter. And this is instructive for us because when we face our different circumstances in life, sometimes we go to Krishna and say, solve this for me. Please make this go away. Make that go away. It's okay. But the better approach is, Krishna, please instruct me. Guide me in your plan. I have faith in your plan. Right? So, now Krishna begins instructing Arjuna. And I think you must have read over the last many weeks these 20 verses on one topic. What is the topic Krishna has been speaking on? How to win the war. But the general theme, what has Krishna been speaking around? Moksha. So how to find freedom. Right. Moksha for who? Who am I? Soul. So Krishna has been giving jnana, knowledge about the soul. Because how much knowledge do we actually have about the soul? Very less. How many of us got a master's in soul in the university? How many of us took one class on the soul in our elementary school, middle school, high school, or college studies? Nobody? Because all material education, they don't teach on the soul. But we know, who am I? I am soul. So Krishna begins his instruction in this chapter, the very first thing. And there's a very important reason for this. 110%, if that's such a thing, but let's go with it. 100% of the time, when I am facing some anxiety, some fear, some distress, some negative emotion that I don't want, it is due to one reason. Anybody want to guess what? It's only one reason. Thought, okay. About? Negative thoughts. But why am I experiencing negative experiences from this situation?
Karma.
Karma?
Because you are attached to the body.
Because I'm attached to the body.
Because of our expectations.
Because of our expectations. That's all it is. Because as soon as I'm attached to the body, I see the circumstances that I face through, I am this body. But am I this body? I am soul. If I go through my whole life simply trying to satisfy the needs of my car, will I be happy? I might get a little bit of happiness. Maybe my car is so beautiful, somebody compliments it once in a while. Maybe my car is so nice, it very smoothly gets me from point A to point B. But will I consider my life to be a complete success if the only thing I'm doing is focused on giving happiness to my car? That's like almost foolish, right? So similarly, Krishna is telling Arjuna, if you go through your life trying to give happiness through this body, you'll constantly be frustrated and disappointed. Because you're not this body. Just as we are not this car, we know I'm not this car, I want happiness for myself. Well, who is the self? It's not this body, it's the soul. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, every circumstance you look through, when there is distress, anxiety, fear, it is 100% a result of not the rain, not high taxes, not mother-in-law, not this, that. It is due simply to I seeing the situation from I am this body and forgetting I am spirit soul. If we look at the same situation from the perspective I am spirit soul, that consciousness dissipates. The circumstance doesn't change. Understand? Whatever was afflicting us, that we cannot change. But what we can change is our understanding of it and its impact on who we really are. So it's a very foundational understanding, and that's why Krishna spent 20 verses speaking on one topic, the soul, giving so much knowledge about the soul, because it's really the foundation of everything that we are going to do. And it's the foundation of what breaks apart Arjuna's reasons for not fighting. Because every reason Arjuna gave, it was based on the body consciousness. He said, it is compassionate to forgive. He said that I should not incur the sins of killing the elders. He said society would destroy. He said, I won't enjoy happiness when it's on the basis of the spilled blood of my family members and the indecision. Right? So Krishna is saying, those are good reasons, but your conclusions are faulty because you're looking at it from the body. As soon as you look at it from the soul, your actual decision is complete opposite. I'll give one example. he said, it's compassionate for me to forgive, Duryodhana and others, right? So out of compassion, he wanted to forgive. So he thinks by not killing, they'll be benefited. But we know, due to the bad actions of the Kauravas, what is coming to them in the future? Lots of difficulties, right? Karma, laws of karma. You do a good action, you get a good reaction. You do a bad action, you get a bad reaction. Simple formula. So coming in the future to Kauravas was immense amounts of future suffering. Because they had inflicted so much suffering upon others. What goes around comes around. So if Arjuna had compassion, Duryodhana, his decision would be what action I can take that would free him from all this future suffering that is pent up and waiting to be delivered to him. Would we consider that to be compassionate? If I can remove all of Duryodhana's future suffering, is that compassion? He's becoming free. If he really wants to do it. So if that's the case, then what's the right decision for him? If Duryodhana is slain on the battlefield, in the presence of Krishna, on Dharma Kshetra, he becomes free from all of his sinful reactions and goes back to spiritual world. So what's the best result for Duryodhana at this point? Being slain on the battlefield. But if I'm looking at it from the body perspective, of course, it's not best for his body, because his body will be slain. But if we think what is best for him, as spirit soul, the answer is very clear. But Arjuna's conclusion was the exact opposite. So this is the nature of our bodily consciousness. As soon as we look at the perspective from I am body, you are body, our conclusion is exactly opposite of what we actually should do. And this is the conundrum of why we struggle to find real peace and happiness until we come to this platform of seeing how to make decisions from the basis of the soul. Okay? So let's read the 38th verse now, that sort of extended introduction. If somebody would like to read the verse, you can read the translation too as well, and we'll read the purport and then discuss it. Yes, please.
238, right?
238.
Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by doing so you shall never incur sin.
Okay, let's read the purport. Somebody like to read the purport?
Lord Krishna now directly says that Arjuna should fight for the sake of fighting because he desires the battle. There is no consideration of happiness or distress, profit or loss, victory or defeat in the activities of Krishna consciousness. That everything should be performed for the sake of Krishna is transcendental consciousness. So there is no reaction to material activities. He who acts for his own sense gratification, either in goodness or in passion, is subject to the reaction, good or bad. But he who has completely surrendered himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness is no longer obliged to anyone. Nor he is a debtor to anyone, as one is in the ordinary course of activities. It is said, anyone who has completely surrendered unto Krishna, Mukund, giving up all other duties, is no longer a debtor, nor is he obliged to anyone. Not the demigods, nor the sages, nor the people in general, nor kinsmen, nor humanity, nor forefathers. That is the indirect hint given by Krishna to Arjuna in this verse, and the matter will be more clearly explained in the following verses.
Okay, so Anybody find this instruction a little challenging, difficult? What is Krishna telling Arjuna to do in the verse?
Leave aside all thoughts of affinity or relations, etc., and just work for him.
Easy to do? Because I go to the office every day for what goal? Paycheck. If paycheck doesn't come, we're going to go to the office tomorrow? No, we go for one reason. Paycheck. Sure, there might be some secondary reasons, but if those secondary reasons are there and there's no paycheck, do those secondary reasons matter? No. So we go because we want something in return. Okay? So that is in the material world, that is the formula. What Krishna is saying, basically, do thou fight. Meaning, you work, Arjuna. But don't work and no paycheck. How many of us are ready to sign up for that? No hands, right? We go to Krishna and we ask for a big paycheck actually. Right? We make big requests, not small ones. What's the point, right? We're going to go to God, we might as well ask for something significant. And here, Krishna is saying, do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat. So we can conclude this is going to be a little bit difficult for us to at least follow immediately. Looking great? Okay. I can at least think, oh, that's hard. So let's do a compare and contrast. So in the material world, when I go to work, I go to work, and boss gives paycheck, right? And we know how this formula works. I give my effort, my energy, my intelligence, all my abilities, and the boss, the owner, reciprocates, gives back the absolute bare minimum required to get me to come back tomorrow. Right? That's the way it works. Because if boss gives one less to us, he or she gets to enjoy one more. It's a fixed pie. There's a fixed amount of resources. Whatever after giving to everybody else, the owner gets to keep for themselves, right? So the more they can keep and the less they give, they win, we lose. Is that fair? That everyone agrees that's the formula? So that is the nature in all sort of material relationships, even. In all our relations, they carry that maybe to slightly lesser degrees, but that is the nature of this. So now when we say Krishna is telling Arjuna, you fight, basically because I'm telling you to, but you don't consider anything, who seems to be the winner in that equation? Who seems to win and who seems to lose? Why we all thought it was difficult to do? It seems like, wait a minute, I'm losing and Krishna is gaining. I'm doing all the work and Krishna gets to enjoy the fruits. Right? That's how it feels. So as Prabhupada writes at the end of the purport, this topic is going to be explained in chapter 3, in chapter 5, in chapter 9, in chapter 10, chapter 12, and I would say also in 18, and in many other places, because it's a very important topic that needs some unpacking. So we'll just not be able to do all that today in the remaining time we have. But the key understanding we need to conclude in our understanding is, take it back to the home example. It's always a great analogy to understand our relationship with Krishna. In the home, there is child and there is parents. In the home, and there are fixed number of gulab jamuns. Who is going to enjoy gulab jamuns more, parents or child? Really? How much work the child did to get those gulab jamuns?
Zero.
But we all have faith, right? Who is going to enjoy them more? Child. That is our relationship with Krishna. He is Father, we are child. I may seemingly give to the Lord. But actually, who is giving far beyond what we can give? When we give everything to Krishna, who actually wins in that exchange? We do. When child gives everything they can in the home to mother and father, who actually wins in the end? Who gets more? Because whatever child can give, mother and father can give many, many times more. And they do, out of love. It's an exchange of love. So similarly, when I give whatever I have to Krishna, actually I am the beneficiary. It's Krishna reciprocates. With more, who has more to give? Me to Krishna or Krishna to me? It's not even close. So actually, this idea of fighting, doing the work, without consideration of what happens, is simply the faith that Krishna will provide everything. Does child in a home have anxiety whether rice, dal, chapati will come back for dinner tonight? They may want pizza and pasta. That's different anxiety. But do they worry about whether food will come? They have faith. They know. Mother and father will give. They have faith. Similarly, the devotee who understands their relationship with Krishna, they have no reason to get entangled in the profit or loss of any activity. Just like child has no reason to worry, if stock market is up or stock market is down. Child continues playing with toys. They have no anxiety. They just enjoy. Faith, not blind faith. Not blind faith. Experienced faith. So similarly, in spiritual life, through experienced faith, one can understand that actually working for Krishna is the best formula. And when I fully surrender in this mood, it is actually I who am the beneficiary. Again, in the material world, if I work with no consideration of gain, I lose and my boss wins because he gets to keep the paycheck. But in the spiritual relationship between us and the Supreme Lord, when we work in this way, we are the beneficiary. And there are some very specific ways in which we benefit. Prabhupada writes that when we work detached from the fruit, detached from the result basically, not the actual apple, but the result of our work, what happens? We don't acquire the karma from that action. What's wrong with the karma? The karma is going to keep me bound here. The only way to become unbound from this existence is to come to a point of no karma. So one can say, okay, I just won't do anything. But in not doing anything, we're also accruing karma. What we'll eat, how we'll breathe, how we'll move around. There's still karma. So the real way to become free from all the reactions is to work for Krishna, without any consideration for the gain or loss. Then every activity we do, it becomes free of karma. So we are actually the great beneficiary to work in this way. And the liberating position is the anxiety we have over this happiness and distress, it becomes gone. We simply have to do our work. But that is the question. So because we don't have the loss or gain, victory or defeat, does that mean we don't have to work? Krishna says we must work. So working in this detached manner is for our benefit. And we'll see in chapter 3 there are two specific benefits. When we work detached from the fruits, in addition to becoming free from the karmic reactions, two things happen. One, we purify the heart. Why I don't see I am spirit soul, why I'm constantly bewildered and making decisions on the platform of the body. It's so obvious. I'm not the car, I'm the driver. But when it comes to myself, I don't see. Why? Simple. I have dirty glasses. If I look through dirty lenses, I'll not see properly. My eyes are fine, but because the lenses are cloudy, I'll see cloudy. So what's the solution? Fix my eyes? Just clean the lenses. So we have to cleanse our heart. As we cleanse the heart, then this reality which is there will become clear. So, by working in a detached manner, we purify. Purify what? The heart. And two, we acquire knowledge. More knowledge. Deeper knowledge about this fact of how to find real peace and happiness. So this is the, we can call it one of the foundational principles that Krishna is going to expand upon. Work without attachment to the fruit. Something that's difficult for us to do, but with knowledge and purification of heart, we'll see it is actually the best for us. And we are the winners in such a circumstance. Okay? Yes, question.
Does it also help with the grasping of our grasping ability?
Grasping?
Yeah.
You mean the ability to understand this? Yeah. Remember, the soul is full of pure qualities and characteristics and potential. And one of its ingredients is chit, which is full of knowledge. So actually we have this knowledge, but it's buried in the core of our heart. And we have to bring it out. So as we purify, yes, our ability to understand and remember, knowledge is understood when it translates to action. If doctor says to me, I have diabetes, don't eat sugar, that knowledge is understood when I stop eating sugar. If I continue eating sugar, have I understood that knowledge? I may know I am not this body, I am spirit soul. But when is that understood? When it's reflected in my actions. So actions will be the indicator of my understanding of this knowledge. So that action will increase in line with this knowledge. Thus, it means I'm grasping it, I've understood it, and I have applied it. This is Gyan to Vigyan. Okay? Yes?
You gave a non-materialistic. Does that mean we keep doing our duties and we don't expect, and we should not keep any expectations? Does it mean that?
Yeah, so when we do our service to the Lord, when we do it with no expectation, that is the highest standard of service. Anyabilashita sunyam yanakamari navatam anukulyana Krishna vishanam bhaktir uttama. Uttama. The highest bhakti is that which is done with no expectation of anything in return. Why is the highest? Because it's the most pleasing and it's pure love. Again, I'm going to bring it back to the same example in the home. When child is rendering seva to mother and father with no expectation of return, how pleasing is that to mother and father? Now, child is rendering some seva to mother and father because they want one ice cream cone. That seva is still pleasing, right? But does it carry the same weight as the child doing with no expectation? In those two scenarios, which child ends up with more ice cream? The first one. So the thing is, the less we desire in our service, the actual more we get. The more we desire in our service, we'll get.
But we are not happy.
We don't get that. Because when we do service with no expectation of return, that is love. When I do service with some expectation of return, that is business. That is transaction. Right? I go to the office not out of love. There's no love. Oh, I love my job. You don't love your job. If you didn't get paid, you're not doing your job. Let's be clear. Alright? So, that is transaction. When we go to God in that same mood, that is transaction. Still, He considers it pious. But even better, no expectation. And in the mood of no expectation, I'll come to you. In the mood of no expectation, we become the beneficiary. But the expectation is not on blind understanding. It's on firm faith that Krishna is my supreme, loving, protected Father. That He assuredly will take care for what's best for me. So it must become our surrender will come when we have informed faith in that. Any question?
Yeah, I have a question. In the spiritual world, it is said that when you talk to the universe, you ask what you want.
Do you talk to?
Universe. So you ask what you want and they will bless you. And this sentence is like contradicting to that.
Yeah. Because in the spiritual world, there's only one desire. And that is to serve the Supreme Lord. That is the only desire. And Krishna has also only one desire. And that is to serve his devotees. It is actually a two-way street of surrender. It's not a one-way street. So the desire there will always be some desire. Because the soul is active, it will have some desire. So at the end of this chapter, we'll see Krishna will speak about becoming free of desires. He is saying becoming free of your material desires. Give me $1 billion, give me more family, give me more fame, more beauty, more intelligence, these are all material desires. Instead, what the devotee prays for? Because they have to have desire. Oh, Krishna, please give me the opportunity to serve you. Krishna, please give me the opportunity to see I am not this body, I am the spirit soul. Krishna, please give me the enthusiasm to render service to you. Like this, that is the desire. And that desire becomes fulfilled also. Because that desire is actually what gives us real happiness. I have defined $1 billion as giving me happiness. But it won't give happiness. We know it. We know it on some scale. We have more wealth today than we did 20 years ago. Are we happier? We have more possessions. We have more progress in our corporations. We have more status in society. Are we happier? We dreamt of all these things, giving us. But the devotee knows what actually will give me happiness. My uninterrupted service to the Supreme Lord. That is the source of my happiness. So that's the desire that will get fulfilled in the spiritual world. Because in the spiritual world there is something called kalpa vrikshas. What are kalpa vrikshas? They are desire trees. Any desire you have, these trees will fulfill. But nobody goes there and says, give me $1 billion. They have desires. Give me something that I can use in the service of the Lord. That's the purity of consciousness that occurs. Okay? Did I answer your question about expectations?
Yeah, but I was
You
just
follow?
thinking,
Yeah.
in this competitive world,
Yes.
so it's like a race.
Yeah.
People keep on expecting something or the other.
Yes.
So how is that we need to practice or not, expecting or less expecting?
It's a great question. So, in the material world, we are working in the midst of competing with others, and we have these sort of circumstances. So how do we coexist in that consciousness? And this is where the Bhagavad Gita is extraordinarily powerful. Because when you apply these principles, I can guarantee you, you'll be more successful in your material career. Now, that's not the reason to do it, because you can get much greater. But that will happen. And there's a very practical reason why. So, when we work in the office and we work in the place, Krishna will use the term to Arjuna. He says, Vigatava jvara. He says, you fight without lethargy. Why Krishna says that? Because when we realize, wait, I'm fighting without desire for the fruits, there's a potential to become lethargic. I don't know why bother, right? We know. Like the government worker, why they're not so motivated? Because they can never be fired. So what's the motivation for them to work, right? So like this, when there's no fruits in it for us, there's the potential for us to become lazy. But the devotee with knowledge actually works the opposite. They put 110% effort into their jobs, into their careers. They will fight and climb the corporate ladder and do all these things. But they're doing it not for their own false ego. They're saying, if Krishna has given me some intelligence, Krishna has given me some ability, it's incumbent upon me to use that to the best of my ability in Krishna's service. If I get to the corner office, great. I'm not getting to the corner office so I can take a selfie and send it to all my peers and make them jealous of me. That is not my purpose. I'm not getting to the corner office so I can exert my power and and form over everyone. No. Because Krishna has given me a gift. And the fruits of that work, I will use it for Krishna's service. But guess what happens now? When that effort goes and it doesn't manifest. I don't get to that corner office. How does the devotee feel? They're unmoved. Why? They were doing it for the Lord. If it comes, great. If it doesn't come, no problem. Because it wasn't mine in the first place. So now what happens is we can work with the best of energy, but we don't sap our energy with all this attachment to the results. It is actually attachment to the things that we cannot control that reduces our effectiveness. You know, I teach, as some of you know, entrepreneurship in university, and I talk about this. I said, if as an entrepreneur, as a leader, you have a lot of risk. And if you stress the things you cannot control, you'll lose your effectiveness. You have to focus on the things you can influence and control. And put yourself in the best position to succeed. But don't get sapped by the things you cannot control. So what is this telling? What is Krishna telling us in essence? If I translate this to corporate America, do the best you can, but worry about what you can control, right? Do thou fight, but don't consider the happiness lost, because that you can't control anyways. Right? So when we actually work in this way, we become more effective in our jobs. We can become less disturbed by these politics and other things. It doesn't mean if I'm working and someone is stealing my work, I'm not going to go and fight for that credit. But it's not for my credit. It's for my Lord's credit. He deserves it. Now we cannot say, you know, I'm fighting for my Lord, and then when the paycheck comes, I go and buy myself the BMW and the 7-bedroom house. Yeah, doesn't. We have to actually put it into practice. But when we work with no expectation, but we work for a higher expectation, it actually makes us more effective and more successful. And this is where you see why, you know, one of the biggest inefficiencies in corporate America is workplace stress. Why there's so much effort around mindfulness in the workplace, right? They give yoga classes, they give this, they give that, right? Why? Because they don't care about our mindfulness. They want more efficiency. Stress reduces work quality and output. It's a simple formula. This is the ultimate stress relieving. Why? If the result comes or not, it's not my problem, right? Child in a home, what stress do they have? I'm going to keep bringing back to this example. In the home, child has no stress. Mother and father has stress. Child has none. We are children in Krishna's arms. Let him worry about it. So no expectation doesn't mean we don't compete. Arjuna was the best warrior in the world. And his skills are going to be on display. And even Krishna calls him in the 11th chapter, he calls him, O Savya Sachin. Which means, Savya Sachin means that he can shoot arrows with both left hand and right hand. He was actually glorifying Arjuna's skill and saying, use that skill in the battle. So spiritual life is not about, oh, I should just, whatever abilities I have, I should put it in a box and hide it. No. Krishna's saying, use it. But use it for a higher purpose. Okay? Good. Nice questions. Other questions, comments? Anything else? You have a question?
I was thinking, in a sense, right, as an extension of all the discussion we are having, and I've been thinking about this for a couple of years now, when it comes to actual implementation on a day-to-day basis at work, right, what are some of the tips or tricks you can tell us? For example, what I do once in a while is take a seat back and just offer everything aloud and keep working on, right? Because as you said, without putting this into action, this is going to be pretty much knowledge from the books and textbooks. So, other than the some we do, the reading of the literature, how do we elevate our practices to the next level?
Yeah, it's a perfect question, because if knowledge doesn't translate to action, it's not really knowledge, right? No, so it starts with acquiring this knowledge first, right? Because I know when we hear this stuff, like our faith. Remember, faith isn't like a light switch; it's either on or off, Right? Faith builds. It grows in time. Right? So we're in the process of building our faith in these principles. Right? So we have to start some way. So how do we start? As we bring Krishna into the center of our life, we will experience the benefits of it. If you don't do it. Why you would do anything that doesn't bring you a positive result? But I can guarantee you it will happen. So what do? We start to bring the Lord into the center of our life. What is a way we do that? We come on Friday evenings and discuss Krishna. There's so many options of what we can do on a Friday evening. By choosing this action, what am I doing? I'm telling my Lord, okay, you are important to me. I need to know more. It's a great step. Come to the temple. Krishna is a home. And he's saying, come to my house. Let me ask you. If Prime Minister Modi asked you, come to my home to see me, you'll go see him? If your favorite Bollywood actor said, come to my home and see me, you'll see him? Or her? You'll hesitate? Oh, it's a long drive, it's this, I have this to do, I have to work tomorrow. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is inviting us to His home every day. Let's go see Him. What am I doing by that? I'm bringing Krishna into my life. Right? So the more I do that, chanting, we'll do this in a minute. Sometimes I think this chanting, what is it? It's a ritual, it's a mechanical process. No. What are we doing? We are giving. What is the most valuable resource we have? Our time. Our time. With all the wealth of the world, you cannot buy back 1 second. It's a statement by Chanakya Pandit. So when I chant, I am giving my time to Krishna. What am I doing? I'm giving some importance to Him in my life. Right? So by doing these things, and as I get some positive experience, I do more and more and more. To the point where one becomes fully surrendered. Everything I do, I'm doing it for Krishna. It doesn't mean, everything I do, hand is in a bead bag and I'm banging on a mridanga. No, I might be in the office. I might be raising my children. I might be doing this. But all those activities are centered around serving Krishna. Okay? So we start in these practical ways. Coming for Bhakti Vriksha, chanting the holy names, rendering some service in the temple, reading books. We work in the office place, and remember, next time we tried our best and something didn't happen. What our faith should be? Krishna has a better plan for me. Whose plan again is better in the home, child or parents? Whose plan is better for me and for each of us? My plan, your plan, or Krishna's plan? I walk down the street and somebody slaps me. It is also Krishna's plan. Don't slap back. Must be something there. Take it. Right? And as you do, you'll experience the benefits of it. And that positive experience will bring you to a deeper and deeper level. So take 1 step, 2 steps like that. That's how we have to do it.
You mentioned that a couple of times. But it behooves me to ask. So does that also mean we need to develop a sense of awareness to realize or to make ourselves aware that, I'm seeing some changes or I'm seeing those quote-unquote benefits that you were talking about?
Of course. Yeah. Look, don't practice spiritual life and then, think nothing. I think in the seminar, I always give this thing. If you really want to prove this to yourself, you write down on a piece of paper 5 things that you want to improve about yourself in your life. You pick them. 5 things. You put it into an envelope and seal it. And you can open it in 90 days. You write today's date plus 90 equals and write the 90th date. And then between now and then, you chant japa every day. You come for Bhakti Riksha and you see the Lord in the temple. There's these three things. Less than 10% of your week. Less than 10. Maybe even like 3%. Then you open and you decide, is there a perceptible, tangible, not theoretical, something into the future result? You know, one Srila Prabhupada was asked this kind of question. Sometimes it lingers in my head. You know, what if this idea of the spiritual world and all that, what if it's all a hoax? And he was expecting some very technical, shastric answer back. And Prabhupada said, are you enjoying yourself? He says, yeah. Then what's the loss? What's the loss? You'll experience happiness in spiritual life. That's why Krishna says, Raja Vidyam Rajagoyam Pavitram Ittamam Pratyaksha Vagamam. He says, Pratyaksha. The result of this knowledge is perceivable. It's tangible. It's not like theoretical. It's actually, you can experience it. You can feel it. And I always give this same example. If you want like a micro proof of it, you want a micro proof of it? Okay. This will take you only 30 minutes to prove. You take the one activity you dislike the most doing in your home. Maybe it's dishes, maybe it's cleaning toilets, maybe it's vacuuming, dust. You take the one activity you dislike the most. I mean, the most you dislike. And then you come and you do that activity in the temple. And you see your experience. Then you decide, is there something here? Is there something tangible? And you'll walk out thinking, I don't know what happened, but it's perceivable. It's tangible. And that's what propels us to go further and further. Right? So remember, don't think about either have it or I don't. Think about 1 step, 2 step, 3%. Think about 1%, 2%, all the way up to 100%. Progressive steps, slow and steady. But steady. Don't go too slow. Any other questions? Good discussion. Okay. Shall we chant? Srila Prabhupada ki. So, chant, japa now.